Hi, my name is Rachel. Welcome to my channel, Learning with Boys. I am a homeschool mom. I have been homeschooling for 13 years and I have 4 boys ages 9 to 19. Today I just want to talk to you about, did you pick the wrong curriculum? Sometimes we ask ourselves that. Either it could be a couple weeks in, it could be a couple months in. But I know I have experienced that several times over the years. But I always wonder, now, could it have been the curriculum? Or was it my child? Or maybe it was just me and I didn't care for it. So those are some things that you need to weigh out when you're deciding, do I want to try to make this work or do I just need to let it go? It's hard when you spent time in the research for finding the right curriculum and the money, and you don't want to have to lose out on either, really. So why did we choose the curriculum? Did we choose the curriculum because, oh man, everybody else is like going this direction and this looks so nice and pretty and I want this curriculum. I know it will work for us. Look how everybody else loves it. It works for everybody else. Or did we pick it because we knew that it would meet a special need for our child? Or maybe it was just really how our family enjoys learning together. So we need to decide on why we even pick the curriculum. That might help us a little bit too. But I do want to make some suggestions before you just call it quits, that you could try and before you invest into another curriculum. The first thing we need to decide, is it the curriculum or is it the child that's just really struggling and not getting something out of the curriculum? Because if he's not getting something out of the curriculum, it might be just some changes you need to make. Maybe they want him to write a lot and he's just not really capable or ready for all of that. Maybe his communication skills are good. Maybe he could just orally talk to you about it. Maybe it's with math, and sometimes there could be too many manipulatives, too many different ways to do a problem, or maybe there's not enough options. Maybe you just haven't found the right way to explain it to him or her. So you just really need to weigh out, can I make this work? Like for math, I mean, we've pretty much used the same math program all the way through. Has it always been a good math day? No, it hasn't. I've had one that has struggled, but it was just with basic skills, and it really was just the memorization of them. And sometimes you're going to have to work on that beyond just that little 20-30 minute math lesson. They're going to have, some kids will struggle more, won't click as quickly, and sometimes you could even slow the math curriculum down. And that could be with any other subject. Maybe it's just moving too quickly. Maybe they need 2 days to do the project, or 2 days for you to do the reading with them instead of 1 day. Maybe it just needs to be a few days of a week instead of a whole week's worth. Those are just some options. And I know the first year we were homeschooling, and I will tell you, just for example, we were using Abeka, which is fine if that's what works for you all and your family. And for my oldest, it really wasn't that bad, except that we weren't doing any of the seat work. I guess they have seat work, but it wasn't my choice. I just didn't realize they had that. But I will tell you, he understood everything. He didn't need extra work to tell him that he was doing okay. And sometimes there's a lot of busy work in either whatever curriculum it may be. And that may be something you may just be like, we don't need all this busy work. We just want to talk about it and enjoy the subject, or draw a picture, or just tell daddy about it that evening. It may not have to be a lot of busy work. So you need to weigh that out too. There was a curriculum I used a couple years ago for my 4th grader. Now he was in 2nd grade, and it wasn't that it was a bad curriculum. It really was pretty neat how it was all laid out. And I will tell you, it was master books. It was their language lessons for learning, I think is what it's called. And I sort of felt that way with that particular curriculum a little bit. Like, there was some good things about it, but we didn't do it all. We didn't do everything that was in the lessons because I didn't realize they were going to have spelling words. But really, he already had a spelling program. Some of it was a little bit like too easy, but some of it I felt like he could have a little bit more. So, but we went ahead and used it. We just adjusted it. And because I thought, for a second grader, this isn't going to make or break his life. I could use this and make it work. He'll be doing language next year in 3rd grade and in 4th grade. It'll be okay. So that's another option, especially when they're in their younger years. A curriculum like that, you may just try to make it work through the year, especially if you don't want to spend the extra money. I mean, if you have the extra money and you want to try, but sometimes it is a little overwhelming to the child when you start switching out 2 or 3 times in a year. So, and that's a thought to think about. What's the flexibility of your child? Does he handle that well? That makes me think about science in elementary age. We think that we have to go through this cycle of they've got to learn this, and then they've got to learn this, and they've got to learn this, about the earth and about the human body and about the animals. And really that can be a fun time with your kids when you're doing all that. But the science doesn't have to be so overwhelming that it sort of stresses the child out. It should be enjoyable. So you may not, the first few years, even need to use a science curriculum. You could just use whatever they're interested in at the time, and focus more on their reading and their math. Because once they have the reading and the math, they'll take off in the other areas and they'll be able to do some more independent work. And that's your goal, is you want them to be a little bit more independent when it comes to things like that. An option for trying to make the curriculum work is maybe, and this is a hard one for some parents, not following the curriculum to a T, every little detail. And I know this is hard for some parents, especially if you just started out homeschooling. Let me explain. So I would say what we use is like a box curriculum. It is a literature-based curriculum. We do use Heart of Dakota. But we may not choose to read every book, and that's okay. Now, majority of the time we do. Like, my son just finished up one of his science books, my 4th grader, and he was very towards the end. Well, we didn't do the last couple days of it because I felt like he got it. He already understood it, and it really was just a few more basic little things, and it wasn't priority to him. So it was okay. I let that go. I'm not going to stress that we didn't have that paper filled out. And for my high schooler, he's got what we call living library. Well, he's not even reading every book from that. And even with the world religion, we have skipped a book. Because we just, for our family, that's not something that we wanted, or we aren't stressing over to fit in all the other work that he has. So that is one of the biggest options, is as not following the curriculum to a T. And I may choose to go ahead and we'll read the book, but we read it more for pleasure instead of answering the questions or doing the paper for it. And we don't do that all the time, but we can. We just have that option. For another example would be when my boys were younger, we would sort of combine, or even if we didn't, if they were on different histories or different sciences, I may just choose to read whatever the oldest was doing out loud and let the other ones just listen in. When they're younger, like I said, they just need to focus on math and their reading. So maybe we don't have a particular history or science for that 1st, 2nd, or even 3rd grader. So I just let them sit in on what I'm doing for the oldest. They can listen in on their science, or they can listen on their history and either color or do something else, but it's amazing how much kids pick up, and you don't think they are, and they enjoy it, especially when you start hearing them asking questions about the subject themselves. For like an older child, if they have an in-depth like writing curriculum, you may not need to stress over all the writing that they might have in history or science. You could combine those and make the curriculum work, because you're thinking, well, this history is not working because he's got so much writing in it and he's already has a writing program. Well, you could drop some of that writing. He doesn't need to do all of that. Or he could take his writing and maybe write about something that's in history or in science. So when is it time to switch? I don't like this curriculum. I'm joking. But there are times that you just feel that way. And if you as the parent really do not like it and you never want to see it again, it's probably best just to go ahead and set it aside. I will say that much. But just for examples, like when my second was struggling with reading and he was in kindergarten, just even getting the sounds down. A curriculum was brought. I didn't even really know I guess I knew there was options, but I didn't know what they were. So I just was trying to make it work. I had no idea. I didn't know how to study out. This was our first year homeschooling. So I just didn't know any other options. But someone had brought an option to me, and I looked into it, and we were over halfway through the year. So we did switch out. We set the Abeka aside, and we went forward with this other curriculum, and we've been staying with it the rest. Taught all the boys that way, and it worked out great. So that was definitely meant a time to switch. Okay, another time I will tell you that I switched is when I was expecting our fourth. My oldest was in 5th grade, and I loved like history and science and just doing stuff with them, but I was so tired, and I thought it was because I was older, but come to find out, my iron was really low, and I didn't realize that. But I felt like I was sort of letting him down, and he wasn't keeping up with like history and science. I feel like the other subjects we were doing okay with, and I ended up finding like a streaming type video curriculum for him for history. He really didn't end up enjoying that science. I think it was the teacher, but the history he absolutely loved and soaked in, and it really worked out because it gave him a big boy thing to do, and I wasn't overly worried about the other two in those two subjects, because like I said, when they're in like 1st through 3rd grade, it'll be okay. They will catch up. I mean, some of them could have even listened to his videos, so it all worked out. But that was another time that I switched. Now, I will tell you, there's a lot of times that I let curriculum go. Do I replace it? Not necessarily, because a lot of times it's just extras. Like it might just be an extra little language arts book that I bought, or an extra geography book that I bought. That really is not the main curriculum. So I don't have a problem letting things go like that. I'm not going to sit here and say they've got to do every single busy work is really what it comes down to. But I thought maybe they might enjoy it. But I've got to learn. It takes a long time to learn those lessons. And there's been times also when, even with our curriculum, we use a lot of living books, that we may have got to a book that we're trying to read through this book. We had one earlier this year that I just had to put down for my oldest, and none of us could just wrap around it. I mean, we read probably a third through, maybe, but none of us were interested. And it was okay. I just put it down. But time is precious. When I know there's another book on the shelf that I know they will enjoy, I just need to not worry about it, and I need to just put that aside. I don't know if this video has helped any of you at all, but I just wanted to encourage you, because I do know that it's hard when you're trying to decide if this curriculum, can I make it work? This curriculum's not working. I spent all this money, but I really encourage you to try some options. Try letting some things go. Maybe try even adding something to it if you have to. There's times I've used curriculum and I've printed out color papers to go with it, maybe when the kids were little while I was reading. You can find a lot of, I always say, free printable, and then whatever subject I want. And there's always usually something that you can come up with. But when it comes down to language arts, and especially math, I mean, you really have to weigh your options. Unfortunately, there is no perfect curriculum. I will tell you, every curriculum I've ever used, I've adjusted it a little bit. I don't think I've ever used anything all the way through. And I've heard a lot of moms say that, especially if they've been homeschooling for a while. And I know for some ladies, I have a friend that, I mean, it's just very hard for her to even accept that you don't do everything on the list. But, so you have to weigh that out. Maybe if you are like that, pick something where the list is not so long. It's not so many things to do in that curriculum, that it's just very basic. That way you have some wiggle room, like, okay, we got the basics done, but I would like to do a little bit more, and you can choose what that may be. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope it was helpful. I am hoping to do some curriculum reviews. If there's anything that you're interested in seeing, I have what we're using this year, but I probably do have some other things boxed away that I either will use for my youngest, or really either one, or I just probably might get rid of. So, but I wouldn't mind pulling them out if it's something that I have and you're interested in seeing. So, if you like this type of content, give it a thumbs up and subscribe and share with your friends. And I appreciate you watching. You all have a great day. Thank you.